everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all, and I do mean all, of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. We actually have a lot to talk about today. I feel like for the last couple weeks, I've been kind of just like grasping at straws when it came to topics. But I actually had to cut some stuff this week, like Sigourney Weaver's in The Mandalorian. Cool. The Mandalorian and Grogu, I should say, like the upcoming movie. Like we don't know who she's playing, but she's in there. So that's a story that I cut because it's what I just said is basically all I would have to say about that story. So, let's jump right into it, I guess. So first up, we have a trailer for The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, Season 2, the Amazon show that everybody unanimously loves. There is no divisiveness when it comes to it. Actually, there is no divisiveness. It feels like everybody hates it. So here's the thing. I've never seen the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, nor have I seen the Hobbit trilogy, nor have I read the books, Silmarillion. I hardly know Hurlian. I'm just not familiar with Lord of the Rings. So I watched the first season and I didn't mind it. Like, I was like, yeah, this is fantasy nonsense. It's fine. I don't hate this. So I watched the trailer for this and I'm like, it's more of that. I don't think it looks terrible. I don't think it looks great, but I'm not sitting here saying it's like, wow, it's a disgrace to the legacy of Tolkien. I don't know who Tolkien is. I don't care about that guy. I don't care about his legacy. You know what I mean? So, we're going to see Sauron or whatever, the handsome guy that turned out to be Sauron or something. Or I think Sauron wasn't him. I think he was just like his minion or something. I don't remember. It's coming back. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the in the comments down below. Next, on the same day that dropped, though, I'm pretty sure HBO did this on purpose. The first trailer for House of the Dragon Season 2 came out. Well, this isn't the first trailer. This is like the third trailer, I think. That was very funny. That like the same day they were just like, here's this one. And obviously House of the Dragon is a much better show than Rings of Power. Like I'm not going to sit here and act like it's a competition. I absolutely love the first season. And I'm totally down for the second season. This trailer very much just highlights how it's going to be a war for the thrones. Who's going to win the Game of Thrones? I know there are some people that probably know because they've read the books. I don't actually know who's going to end up on top. Well, I guess I can guess because because obviously the white-haired people, I forgot what their race is called, they're going to go like extinct or whatever, right? So I guess it has to be the other guys, right? It's probably not going to be Daenerys. Or no, I forget. I don't remember anybody's name in Game of Thrones. I feel like it has to be... hold on, wait. Let me think about this. Because... Hold on. I feel like it has to be... It has to be her that she wins, right? Because her kids aren't white-haired. So... if her kids aren't white-haired and they end up becoming kings and and the legacy keeps going forward, then maybe that's how the white-haired people are no longer really a thing in the modern Game of Thrones. That's my theory. That's my theory. If you know the answer to it, don't tell me because I don't actually want to know. I don't need this to be spoiled for me. But that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Probably wrong. Probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm really invested in their stories. I don't know, I feel like I don't obviously this character is very likable, but she's not a good person really. Her friend, who's now her enemy, she's more of a likable person. She's probably more of a good person. I feel like I'm trying to remember if she did anything super despicable in the first season, but her kids are awful. So I feel like even though this lady, even though she's not the best person, I like her more than her friend's kids. So I feel like I want her to win. That's my rationale. We'll see what happens though. All right, next up. We also got a teaser trailer for Dune Prophecy. So yeah, I feel like this kind of went under the radar. But yeah, there is a Dune Max series coming out. It's a prequel. It's about the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Now I'm gonna listen. People are gonna hate me. Sorry, but I'm not the biggest fan of the Dune movies. I think that the first Dune movie is actually horrible. When I say the first one, I mean the Denis Villeneuve one. I think that movie is just super boring. Don't care about any of the characters. The second movie's better, but I'm not as in love with it as most people are. So I don't necessarily care about Dune that much, but what was consistently the most intriguing part of the second Dune movie was the sisterhood. I like the fact that they control the universe through spilling tea. That's cool. I like that. And so there's going to be a show about the sisterhood of the traveling pants. And that's actually probably going to be pretty interesting. I also thought that it was pretty impressive that when you watch the trailer, it looks like the world of Dune. I feel like on a TV budget, they've managed to more or less keep that visual style, which I think is pretty impressive. But we'll see. Hopefully it's great. Because listen, I'm going to watch it because it's going to be a relevant thing in pop culture. So I'll watch it so that I can talk about it. And yeah, like I'm always open to things being good and franchises winning me over and whatnot. We'll get to that later, actually. All right. So first story of the day, we're done with the trailers. We got a first look at the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim. That's the name of the movie. This is an animated movie that Warner Brothers is making. Can I just say, somebody explained it to me in because I did a trailer reaction for the Rings of Power or whatever. Somebody explained it to me in the comments, and I already forgot. But like, what is the deal with the Lord of the Rings rights? Because I know that Amazon spent like $500 million buying the rights, and then went on to spend what amounted up to $1 billion in making like that first season of the Lord of the Rings. What? How is it that Amazon spent so much money to buy the Lord of the Rings rights, but Warner Brothers is still able to make Lord of the Rings shit? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you spend that much money when your competitors are still able to make Lord of the Rings content? So yeah, I don't understand it, but it's happening. Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. So this is a shot from the movie. Now, another thing that's interesting is I'm not entirely sure, because well, in the articles that I saw this in, I think it was in Empire, they say that these are just shots from the movie, but they look very painted, right? Like painterly. So I'm like, is this going to have like a super interesting art style where it's going to look kind of painted? I mean, that's kind of cool, right? And this is like the thing that we showed initially. This is some guy. By the way, I don't know the context of any of this. I have no idea what this movie's about. And then there's got some elephant guy. They're like crashing in through the forts or whatever. So if these are like actual shots from the movie, I mean, this looks kind of interesting. Like, I don't think, again, the way that it was being described, it was not being described as like storyboarding or like just like concept art or whatever. Like, they described it as these are shots from the movie. So I'm interested to see like what this movie actually looks like in motion. But yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Next up, Chris Pratt basically confirms that he's going to be in the DCU. Let's watch this video here.
Nice. Last question for you. I have to ask this question. This is the one I'm contractually obligated for. Oh. If you were to wager a bet on where we'll see you next, do you think you'll be suiting up as somebody in DC or returning as Star-Lord?
If I had to wager a bet?
It's just hypothetical.
Hypothetical? Well, I think it's...
There's no wrong answer here. I want to see you everywhere.
Yeah, you do?
I've acknowledged this already.
Yes, wow, amazing. Well, probably make more sense that I would be Star-Lord again. But anything is possible, and especially with James over at DC, maybe there's something that would be right over there. Maybe both. How about both?
Let's do both.
I think it's 100% both.
So, I mean, if we're taking him literally, he is saying that he is definitely going to be in the DCU, but he also did couch his language enough to basically say that, like, before he says 100% both, he's kind of couching his language and making it seem like he doesn't really know at the end of the day. But, I mean, the thing is that we know that he is going to show up in the MCU. You know what I mean? Like, the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there's, like, the end credits stinger that says, Star-Lord will return. So, like, we know he's coming back to the MCU, but, I mean, he's saying 100% both, which at the very least indicates that he wants to be in the DCU. And, yeah, I have to imagine that, yes, he is going to be in the DCU in some capacity. I know people are definitely, like, fan casting him as Booster Gold. I mean, I think that it would be good casting for sure. Would it be kind of typecasting, right? Where, like, is that character maybe a little too similar to Star-Lord? Perhaps, you know, I would perhaps want to see him play like a different kind of character. I don't even know what. Maybe like a Hal Jordan. I don't know, a character that maybe takes itself a little more seriously than Star-Lord. Even though those are kind of similar characters, I feel like, as well. They're both pilots, kind of. Although Star-Lord a pilot, not really, but he can fly ships. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he could be maybe he'll be Sinestro. Maybe he'll be Sinestro or Batmite. He could be Batmite. This little CGI Chris Pratt head on a little baby body. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. Leave me alone. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up, we got a synopsis for Creature Commandos. Let's look at the picture here. From executive producer and writer James Gunn, Creature Commandos is the upcoming Max original animated event series based on DC characters and produced by DC Studios and Warner Brothers Animation, which follows Amanda Waller as she forms a Black Ops team out of monstrous prisoners. Definitely not similar to other projects that we've seen. Prepare for an in-depth look from Rick Morales and Bayak Eves into the artistry and creative processes behind the highly anticipated series, kicking off a new era of storytelling in the DC universe. So, yeah, these are most of the Creature Commandos here on this picture here. Yeah, so that's basically confirming that, yes, because I don't think we knew this. Maybe we did, I don't know. But I don't think we knew that Amanda Waller is in fact going to be leading the Creature Commandos and giving them missions. So, yeah, it definitely seems like this is going to be another Suicide Squad situation. A little weird that Warner Brothers just keeps trying to make the Suicide Squad formula work. And it's just funny because it's like the first Suicide Squad movie. Sure, it made a ton of money. And yes, it was an undeniable success, right? Because it made money. And I guess that's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. But it was a terrible movie. It's clowned on by everybody. Then you get into the second Suicide Squad movie, which is very good, right? Everybody loved it, but it bombed at the box office, in large part due to COVID. Also because they released it in theaters and in HBO Max at the same time. So it bombed at the box office. There's no denying that. And then you get into Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That was a bomb in every respect, right? Critics hated it. Gamers hated it. Did not do well. Like, it did not sell well. The player count right now is abysmal from what I understand. But there's like, okay, Suicide Squad with a different name. Creature Commandos. But, I mean, listen, I like James Gunn. You know, he wrote the whole series. So, I'm sure it'll be good. I just think it's funny that Warner Brothers just keeps trying to turn Suicide Squad into a thing. Maybe it'll work here with Creature Commandos. But yeah, we'll wait and see until we get a trailer or something, and then we can really deduce whether or not it's too samey or whatever. All right, next story. Nicolas Cage has officially signed on to play a live-action Spider-Man Noir in a Amazon series. It's coming from Deadline. MGM and Prime Video have handed a series order to Noir, a live-action series based on the Marvel comic Spider-Man Noir, with Oscar winner Nicolas Cage set to star. The series, which has been in development since last year, comes from Oren Uziel and Steve Lightfoot, who will serve as co-showrunners and executive producers. Emmy-winning director Harry Bradbeer is set to direct and executive produce the first 2 episodes. Noir tells the story of an aging and down on his luck private investigator in 1930s New York who is forced to grapple with his past life as the city's one and only superhero. So yeah, I mean, listen, this sounds great. So I, one of the things that I've been wondering about these Amazon shows is like, is this going to take, or like, are these shows going into, are these shows going to take place in the Spider-Man universe, right? Where you have Venom and Morbius and Madam Web and blah, 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 blah. It seems like no, because if this is taking place in the 1930s, probably not. Although I guess it could be. But yeah, Nicolas Cage is officially signed on. I mean, this is exciting, right? Like, he's great, obviously. He's definitely like a fan favorite actor. And I would love to just see him pop off in something like this, It's not his first comic book role. He, of course, played Big Daddy in the Kick-Ass movies, and he was great in that movie, by the way. Honestly, Kick-Ass 2 probably suffered a bit because of Nicolas Cage's absence. And yeah, I think he could absolutely kill it in a role like this. An aged superhero, those stories, maybe not necessarily, it's not necessarily like it hasn't been done before, but yeah, I think that could be an interesting twist on it. Spider-Man Noir, especially like the aesthetics of it, I think it could be a really cool looking show. I'd be fascinated to see if they end up doing it in black and white, to match like the aesthetic that we've seen in things like Into the Spider-Verse. There's also the Shattered Dimensions video game where there are levels where you play as Spider-Man Noir, and those are in black and white. I would love to see them just go all in on that aesthetic and make it black and white. And yeah, we will get to another Spider-Man series later on in the episode. Not as good news, but it's news nonetheless. Yeah, next story. The Boys Season 5 has been renewed ahead of the release of Season 4 later this year. It's coming from CBR. Big news has been confirmed for The Boys heading up to the show's return on Prime Video ahead of the premiere of Season 4. It's been announced that the hit superhero series has been renewed for Season 5. It's interesting because every time like I'm getting into a thing of The Boys, there's always like a thing in the back of my head that's going like, is this going on too long? Are they overextending themselves a bit too much? Like, I feel like when I went into Season 3 of The Boys, I kind of felt that way. When I went into The Boys Diabolical, I kind of felt that way, and I really loved The Boys Diabolical. When I went into Gen V, I kind of felt that way. Really loved what they did with Gen V. And then I kind of feel that way about the Boys Mexico spinoff that's coming. And I kind of feel that way about The Boys Season 4, where I'm like, okay, it feels like it's time to wrap this up. Now you're doing Season 5, but for all I know, I'm going to watch Season 4 and it's still going to be as amazing as ever. So it's like, I still kind of have that thing where I'm like, I'm a little scared that they're overextending themselves, but I've yet to watch a season or a show related to The Boys that I don't really love. So I really can't feel this way. Like, I don't have any justification for feeling this way. But every time like I hear news like this, I'm like, you might be overextending yourselves a bit. Hopefully they know when, like, hopefully they recognize when they don't really have much else to say in this universe, and they stop when they're like at the top. And they don't just eventually peter off. But at this point, they're definitely not doing that. So we'll see what happens. All right, next story. Tomb Raider is getting a series at Amazon. Oops. So oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, you know what? Let's just move on. It's coming from Deadline. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's adaptation of video game Tomb Raider is scaling the walls at Amazon. The streamer has handed the project a series order. Fleabag creator and star Waller-Bridge is writing the Tomb Raider series, but no cast has been set. Deadline revealed last year that the Tomb Raider series was part of a wider universe at Amazon that would also include films and games. So, this is interesting news. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is somebody that I'm not really all that familiar with. I know that she's written Fleabag. That's a show that she's written, which is apparently very good. Also, Killing Eve, I think she's a writer on, which is her most recent show that she's written, which apparently is very good as well. Again, I haven't seen either of these shows. I don't even think I've seen anything that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in, although she's not acting in this, so that's not even really relevant. So, but I know that she's a very respectable writer. Like, people like her stuff. So I think it's probably exciting, right? That she's going to be involved with this project. She's not starring though, so again, however you feel about her in movies, I know people kind of have a hate boner for her ever since she was in like the last Indiana Jones movie that I didn't watch, and I know people hated her in that. But like again, she's not starring she's not starring in this, so it's not really even relevant. Honestly, the thing that concerns me the most is that they're doing like a Tomb Raider cinematic universe where I guess this is going to connect to the next Tomb Raider game. I think there's also a Tomb Raider anime on Netflix, right? That's coming out. Let me look that up actually. Okay, so there is an upcoming Tomb Raider anime on Netflix, but sorry, it's not. It's not an anime. It's just an animated series. But Wikipedia says that it's actually set in the universe of the previous video game canon, right? The games made by Crystal Dynamics. So I don't think it's related to this new universe that's happening, because there's a new universe that's happening with a rebooted Lara Croft that is going to inhabit this series as well. So it's a little confusing here, but yeah, I guess my whole thing here is that I just don't think that Tomb Raider really lends itself to being a cinematic universe, because something like Fallout works, because Fallout is a world that's vast enough where you can have the Fallout show, which is its own thing. It doesn't rely really. I mean, it does in a lore sense, but it doesn't actually like meaningfully interact with having to have like the same characters and stuff like that as the games. And so it's kind of able to do its own thing and operate independently. And and those showrunners had a lot of creative freedom to just tell their story. When you get into Tomb Raider, it all revolves around Lara Croft. It's not like there are other like major characters that, at least I don't think there are. I've only ever played like some of like the one on PS3, and I think the other one, like not Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but the one that was in like the snowy area. It just doesn't seem like Tomb Raider lends itself to being in a cinematic universe, because I feel like at that point you're gonna have to like combine storylines between the show and the games, and that just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So I don't know. We'll see if it ends up being any good. All right. Next up, Natasha Lyonne has been cast in Fantastic Four. This is coming from Deadline. Marvel Studios keeps adding to its all-star cast for its upcoming The Fantastic Four movie. As sources tell Deadline, Emmy nominee Natasha Lyonne is set to join highly anticipated Marvel pick. Marvel Studios had no comment. Plot details are being kept under wraps, as are character details. I gotta say, I think people should be pretty excited about this. Natasha Lyonne is really great. If you've never seen it, there's this show on Peacock called Poker Face. And she basically plays like this, she plays this character that she's basically like lives on the road. And she's on the run, for reasons and stuff and things, which I guess I don't need to spoil, but she basically like has to solve mysteries in every town that she visits. And it's almost like kind of like a mystery of the week show is basically what it is. Although there is like a through line plot, across the first season. And she is so good in that show. Like she just has so much charm, so much charisma. I really love this actress. So yeah, like I'd love to see what she does in a Fantastic Four movie. I think she'll be great. I think people think that she'll probably end up playing like Ben Grimm's girlfriend. I remember her from the original Fantastic Four movies. And I could see her playing a role like that. But I feel like that would be a good role for her. But yeah, we'll see though. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what she does here. All right, next up, Caine, you remember the blind guy from the from John Wick 4? He's getting a spin-off movie. It's coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Lionsgate is developing a John Wick spin-off movie around Donnie Yen's Caine assassin character. Yen will reprise his John Wick Chapter 4 role in the untitled project set to shoot in Hong Kong in 2025. The franchise-expanding film, with no director yet announced, will follow the events of John Wick 4 as Caine has been freed from his obligations to the High Table. I think this sounds awesome. I absolutely love this character in John Wick 4. I don't know, man. It's like, maybe that's also like part of the reason why I love Daredevil so much. I just like blind people that are badasses. I don't know. Like, it's just like, that's just like the coolest thing to me. Like a guy like looking this way and just like attacking people without looking at them. That just like that whole thing is just like awesome to me. So I thought this guy was super cool. Donnie Yen is obviously awesome. So I'm definitely down to see him in a movie. It seems like, yeah, they're definitely getting serious about making like this John Wick cinematic universe, because everything has to be a cinematic universe nowadays. Obviously, we're also getting the ballerina, which apparently was getting reshoots, so that's not the best news, but we are getting the ballerina with Ana de Armas, although she's never been in a John Wick movie. But John Wick is also going to be in that movie, so we'll see if John Wick is in this Caine spin-off movie, right? They've been very ambiguous about whether or not John Wick actually died at the end of John Wick 4. Seems like he probably won't. Like, I think they'll make it be the case that he didn't end up dying. It would be weird to continue a John Wick cinematic universe without John Wick. Like, John Wick very well might show up in this movie as well. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But yeah, the Caine character is awesome. I'll definitely be there to watch this. All right, next story. Supergirl has a release date. It's coming from Variety. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is set to debut on June 26th, 2026 in IMAX, the second feature in the newly rebooted DC universe to secure its place on the release calendar. So yeah, kind of interesting. It seems like Supergirl is going to end up being the second movie in the DCU. I mean, to be fair, like, it does say that it's the second movie to secure its place. Like, maybe we end up getting a movie in like February of 2026 or something like that. But it seems like Supergirl is the second movie that just has everything in order, where they have like the script done and everything. And yeah, like it seems interesting that we're just getting Superman and Supergirl, like two super people movies to kick off the universe with. I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, maybe you would want some more variety there. Although Supergirl is obviously going to be a much more... it is going to be a different movie than Superman, because Superman is going to take place on Earth, and Supergirl is going to be like a space-faring adventure, where she's going to travel to different planets and stuff. At least you would assume so, because they're saying that this is based on Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow, and that's what happens in that comic book. So yeah, based off the comic book, which is very good, I'm definitely excited for Supergirl. You know, it's always a risk when you're making movies or like content based off of not like your main character, right? Like, it's like a spin-off version of Superman. So yeah, giving her the big budget treatment is going to be a bit risky, especially when we're not even sure that Superman is going to be like a surefire success or not, right? Like, Man of Steel didn't make a ton of money. I think it only made like $600 million. The DCEU definitely petered off by the end of it, where you had movies like The Flash bombing and, you know, Blue Beetle and Shazam. And it's like when Aquaman makes like $400 something million and everybody's like, wow, Aquaman actually wasn't that big of a disaster. Like, you know, things are rough. So it's interesting. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully James Gunn delivers a great film and it's a big success, and then that momentum leads into Supergirl. But I feel like it's just a risk to have your second movie be like a I don't mean this in a negative way, but like a knockoff character of Superman, right? Especially when even the success of the Superman movie is in doubt. But I also do respect that James Gunn seems to just have that attitude of like, because if you go back to that when he announced his slate, I don't think that Supergirl was like the second movie that he talked about. I feel like Supergirl was one of the movies that he talked about like later on in that timeline of things. But he said in that he said in that or I don't know if he said it in that video or not, but he said at some point that they're not beholden to release dates. Like, he wants to run his universe, and that when the script is ready, that's when we're going to go into production on a project, right? When we have something that we're happy with and we think it's going to be great, that's when we're going to roll into production. And so if a lot of the other projects are just still cooking and Supergirl, like the script is just great and they can get into production on it, if that's how they're handling it, I mean, then I wholeheartedly support that kind of thing. So yeah, well, we'll see. We shall see. All right, next story. We have our first look at The Last of Us Season 2. So this is Pedro Pascal. We can get a better look at the picture here. That sure is Pedro Pascal. He has his hair slicked back, kind of like how Joel has it in the second game. I don't think Pedro Pascal is able to grow like a full beard. Although I mean that's probably what I have right now, right? Let's take a look. I feel like it's kind of what I have. But like I can't grow like a full like big patchy like fluffy beard. Like I just don't have the ability to do that. Honestly, I feel like it looks fuller on camera than it is in real life also, I should mention. So I don't know. I sympathize with Pedro. And then here we have Ellie. I'm just trying to picture like where we're at here. I feel like this is very much the scene where. So I don't want to spoil too much or anything really from the second game, right? But I believe this is the dance scene, right, where they're like at the dance, and Joel interrupts Ellie speaking with somebody. Kind of seems like that's where this is. I'm not sure what this is from. Like this scene here. The fact that she's wearing this big coat, I think, indicates that it's from earlier on in the game. Yeah, that's interesting. But like, when does she go to like a cabin? Because it feels like she's in a cabin, right? She obviously has like a gun. I'm not sure. Like, is this at some point where they're out on patrol? I don't know. I know the other thing that people have been mentioning is that oh god, what's her name? The actress, whatever. The actress that plays Ellie, like she really doesn't look older from the first season. I think that's a valid thing to bring up because I think the second game in relation to the first game, I think takes place like 5 or 6 years afterwards. And it definitely is the case that Ellie ages up from the game. And I mean, this is like a year or two after the first season of The Last of Us. And I think that the actress that plays Ellie, Bella Ramsey, that's her name. I think she was already like 19 when she filmed the first season. So it's not like she's gonna look that much older anyways. Like she's just a young but looking person. She's 20 years old right now. So she was like 17 or 18, I guess, when they filmed the first season. So it's not like she's gonna grow up that much anyways. I mean, they can probably like write around it, honestly, where maybe the second game doesn't take place that much longer afterwards. Or maybe they say that it's 5 years later and it's just like, who cares? You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm excited. I really loved the first season of The Last of Us. I thought it was a very good adaptation. That being said, it's also very much the easy season, right? Because they very much just did The Last of Us. Like, it just is the game. It kind of felt like I was watching a cutscene, like all the cutscenes together. That is what the first season kind of felt like. The second season is where things get more interesting, right? Because it's like, what are you gonna do? Are you going to be super faithful to the games? Like, are you gonna just do what you did with the first season where you're just kind of doing the game? That gets a little problematic because second game, not as well received as the first game, right? Like, it's very divisive. It's, you know, if, for people that don't know, I very much call it the Last Jedi of video games, where the people that love it, like me, I really like the second game. I absolutely love it. I like, it's not, to me, it's not just the best story in a video game that I've ever experienced. It's like the best, it's like my favorite story ever in anything, whether it be video games, TV, movies, comic books, radio dramas, anything. Like, I've simply never been as emotionally affected by a piece of media as The Last of Us Part 2. So, but then there are people that dislike the game to the same degree, where they think it is the worst thing that's ever been done. They think it is an affront to humanity. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know, but I think you just say fuck it and just do it. Because it'll at least be discourse. There will at least be conversations had around the game or around the show. But I think the big problem as well is that the game is divided up the game is paced in such a way that, well, because they've said that there are going to be 2 more seasons, right? There's going to be a season 2 and a season 3. If you just do half of the game and then you stop, and then season 3 is just the second half of the game, again, no spoilers, that's just a problematic thing to do. You know? It's a little problematic, I feel like. I you know? So, I don't know. Actually, hold on, I just realized something. Again, I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to spoil things, but this picture of Joel. Okay. I'm going to say something, and again, this isn't a spoiler. This picture of Joel has actually, I just realized, this picture of Joel has actually kind of convinced me that I think they are going to change things up. I think they are going to take events of the game, like parts from the like parts from the second half of the game, and bump them up to earlier in the season to build things up a little more. I think that's what they're doing, because the part of the game that I believe that this is from like almost near the end of the first game. Huh. I think they are switching things up. And, you know, I know I said that I think that they should just go ahead and make the game, or make the show and make it faithful to the game. But I'm also not mad that they want to do this, because I get it. I understand how divisive it is. It's a very, like, aggressive game where it tells its story. It doesn't give a damn what you think about it. It just tells the story that it wants to tell. And that's what I respect about it. But I can also understand not wanting to be that aggressive with the show. Okay, I think that's interesting. I also understand that if you've played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't played the game, I understand that you're probably confused. So let's just move on. Okay. Agatha, the show that everybody's been... actually, I want to talk about the Agatha show in general, because I feel like the negativity surrounding this show is a little weird. Okay, I was there during WandaVision. I know how much everybody I'll say this, loved Agatha's character. Why is everybody pretending like a show based on Agatha is like, it's like, oh, who wants this? It's like, I know, I was there. I remember how much everybody loved that character. I remember how obsessed everybody was with Agatha all along. I mean, I get it. She's a side character, right? Just because I really love Jimmy Olsen doesn't mean I need the Jimmy Olsen spinoff. I get it. Like, I'm sorry. I understand. But I feel like the negativity is a bit overwrought. I guess I'll say. But yeah, anyways, yeah, like at the end of the day though, I feel like the negativity is a little too much. I feel like y'all switch up a little bit too much sometimes. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But Marvel put out this little video confirming the name of the series, because it's also been a thing where it's like every couple months there's like a new report that's like Agatha changes title. It was like Agatha Come Home. It's like Agatha My Balls. It was like Agatha something else. It was very funny the way that the name just kept on changing. But we have a finalized one. So let's watch the little video that they put out. So yeah, it was the Darkhold Diaries at first. Then it was House of Harkness, Agatha Coven of Chaos. Yeah, and very recently it was like Agatha the Lying Witch with a Great Wardrobe. And I feel like very recently this title came out, and I feel like a lot of us were like, okay, well now they're just fucking with us, because that was the other thing where like we were like, okay, well, is this are all of these title changes part of the marketing campaign or something like that? And it seems like they're kind of like owning up to it, trying to take credit for it being a part of a campaign. And yeah, so the title is Agatha All Along, which, I mean, makes sense. And yeah, so it's saying there's going to be the 2-episode premiere on September 18th this year. And listen, I get it. Again, like I get it. Agatha was a great side character. I can understand why people wouldn't necessarily want a show based off of her. But I still maintain that Catherine Hahn is great. I think she was great in WandaVision. I really like the Agatha character. I'm interested in her seeing a show based off of her. And listen, if that was like a purposeful marketing campaign where they just kept on changing the title, that's brilliant. I mean, it really is brilliant, because it kept this show in the conversation for like a couple years, where like where we were all like, why do they keep on changing the title of the show? Like, what is happening here? It's kind of a brilliant marketing campaign, especially if it somehow like ties into the show, and like if Agatha All Along ends up being like WandaVision, where they're kind of doing like these like almost like parodies or satires of sitcoms or whatever. I don't know, like if it somehow ties into the plot of the show, where like Agatha's breaking the fourth wall and changing titles of episodes or stuff like that. I don't know, like that, it could be interesting. I could see the show being good. At the same time, though, this is a show that feels very reactionary, where it doesn't necessarily feel like a show that Kevin Feige always intended on making, but rather is a show that exists because Agatha became kind of a meme during WandaVision, right? It's called Agatha All Along, when the Agatha All Along song was very much it went viral on Twitter. And so it is a little worrying that maybe this isn't a show just like born out of artistic creativity, but rather a show born out of like analytics and internet virality. So yeah, there's definitely reasons to be worried about the show, but overall, I'm still interested in it. You know what I mean? And of course, we'll have to wait until the trailer comes out. Then yeah, sticking with Disney Plus and Marvel, Daredevil has a release window. This is coming from Deadline. Audiences can expect Daredevil Born Again in March 2025. Ironheart is also coming in 2025, though the studio didn't say when exactly to expect that series. So this is very interesting, because Bob Iger recently came out and said that they're going to limit their show output to 2 shows a year. So it seems like that is what the Marvel Studios releases are going to be in 2025. It's going to be Daredevil Born Again, and it's going to be Ironheart. It seems like this year it'll have been Echo earlier this year, and then Agatha later this year. And, you know, like I've said before, I think that's good. I think there's obviously been way too much Marvel content. I I will say it's interesting. So I guess that means that like the animated stuff doesn't count. I guess now that I think about it, because this year we also got X-Men 97, and later this year we're getting Spider-Man freshman year. So maybe those just don't count. Which, to be fair, I don't think they really do. You know. So I assume we'll also get animated stuff next year. Like, hopefully they get X-Men 97 season 2 out next year. It's not like Invincible where it's like 4 fucking years between every season. But yeah, obviously very excited for Daredevil. Well, I'll say cautiously optimistic, just because the show was apparently such a disaster at first that they just scrapped what they shot and they've been redoing the show. So that is a little worrying, to be fair. Also, Ironheart is a show that I feel like was shot like a couple years ago at this point. And so who knows if that show's any good or not. So I guess these are shows that I'm cautiously optimistic about, I'll say. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. All right, Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Everybody's favorite film of last year. Just kidding, I personally thought it was awful. Has a release date. Universal and Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's 2, a horror sequel set in the haunted Chuck E. Cheese-esque establishment known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, will land in theaters on December 5th, 2025. So, very interesting. They do not say, like, they didn't say in theaters and Peacock, so I'm going to take that as confirmation that the sequel is not going to launch day and date on Peacock, because that was the most impressive thing about the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie, is that it launched day and date on Peacock and in theaters, and it still managed to make a bunch of money. Like, I think it made something like $300 something million, and I think that's Blumhouse's highest grossing film. I could be totally wrong about that, but I believe that's the case. And so, honestly, with it not being on Peacock and in theaters at the same time, I could very well see Five Nights at Freddy's 2, especially if the sequel is actually any good, because I personally didn't think the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was good, and I do think it's a franchise that's like carried by like Zoomers that are just waiting for that, like watched it so that they could see like Matt Pat's game theory video about it or something. But like if the sequel is any good, I could see this movie making like $500 million or something like that. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I do have some amount of an affection for Five Nights at Freddy's, because like growing up, I played the games. I had fun with the games, and I watched Matt. I was one of the kids that that watches Matt Pat's theory videos. Okay, don't ask me about the lore because it's really complicated and I don't really understand it. But I watch those theory videos. You know what I mean? So we'll see. By the way, like I'll still watch like whenever like there's a new game theory video about FNAF. Like I'll watch it like whenever the big game is out. And I'm like, damn, this series has gone in weird directions, but it's still interesting. So yeah, we'll see. All right, last story of the day. Silk. This was a show in development at Amazon, has been canceled right on the heels of them greenlighting a Spider-Man Noir show. So this is from Deadline. That series, which had been in the works for about 5 years and greenlighted for 2, is not moving forward. I heard the final decision was made a few days ago. Amazon's commitment to the suite of live-action series based on the Sony Pictures universe of 900 Spider-Man and Company Marvel characters also remains in place. Rights to the Silk character, created by Dan Slott and Humberto, revert back to lead studio Sony Pictures Television, which is looking to shop the series to other buyers. So that's I guess the interesting part here, is that Amazon is apparently still looking to work with Sony to make more Marvel-related shows. So they're moving forward to Spider-Man Noir. They're not moving forward with Silk, but they might be moving forward with some other property, maybe like a Black Cat show or something, or a Morbius show. I don't know. And Silk, maybe it'll still get made. Like, it very well could get picked up by a Netflix or an HBO Max or a Peacock or Paramount Plus. I don't know. But moving on. Silk, whose green light was script dependent, has gone through at least 3 versions, I hear. One of them involved a request for Caine and her writing team to reconfigure the show so it is not hanging so heavily on the central character of Silk, I hear. What is with these people? Like, I remember there was a report of a Blade movie where the report had said at one point Blade was about a group of like teenage girls figuring out who they are or something like that. It's not actually about Blade. And it's like, what are you doing? If you're making a movie about Blade, make the movie about Blade. Now we're hearing that the Silk show wasn't going to be about Silk. What are we talking about anymore? Like, stop. Just make the movie. Just make it about the character. Anyways, according to sources, the latest pitch from Caine was well received. But after deliberations where to allocate resources on genre IP projects, which are inherently pricey, a decision was made to proceed with Noir, starring Cage, and shelve Silk. For various reasons, superhero movies with female leads have had a tough time lately. Most recently, Sony's Spider-Man offshoot Madame Web and Disney's The Marvels. That has carried over to genre TV, with Prime Video opting not to proceed with the second season of its high-profile sci-fi series The Peripheral, headlined by Chloe Grace Moretz. I have some things to say about this. So, I mean, that last bit really bothered me because it feels like it's happening again. Do you remember in the 90s? I mean, I wasn't born yet, but I've heard about this. But so, anyways, in the 90s, Hollywood made two of the worst films of all time in Catwoman and Elektra. And those two movies were massive failures. What was the lesson that they learned from that? Well, audiences, they don't want female-led superhero movies. They just don't want to watch female superheroes. At no point did it come through the heads of these moron executives, maybe we just made awful movies, and if we made better movies, it would be better, it would be more successful. At no point does it go through their heads. No, because why would that be the case? It can't be the case that we made bad movies and then they failed. That there can't be any correlation there. Let's find some other excuse for why the movie fails. Woman is reason why thing failed. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And to be fair, the Deadline article, they're not saying that Amazon, like, that's the reason that Amazon canceled the show. They're saying that the main reason why Amazon canceled the show is just because Amazon they're getting a little more pickier on what projects they greenlight. Which, to be fair, I mean, it's like, Jesus, like, they're making they made the Fallout show, they're making a God of War show, which is going to be super expensive. The Lord of the Rings show is going to be super expensive. Can't imagine this Spider-Man Noir show is going to be inexpensive. I mean, they make they spend a lot of money making this shit. So, I mean, I get it from that front. But I hate the little blurb there at the end by Deadline where they're like, female superhero movies have been struggling recently at the box office. When it's like, Wakanda Forever just made like $800 million. Like, what are you talking about? Captain Marvel, sure, that was back in 2019, so it's not as recent, but still, like, that's the movie made like $1 billion. And people will tell me, they're like, or people will like make the excuse of like, well, that movie only made a bunch of money because it came out in between Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. You know what other movie came out in between Infinity War and Endgame? Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know what movie didn't make $1 billion? Ant-Man and the Wasp. And even if that's true, even if that's accurate, clearly the female leadness of the movie didn't hinder it. Clearly, audiences don't have some weird aversion to female-led movies. Like, it's just, I don't understand how like The Marvels is, in my opinion, the worst MCU film ever in the history of the franchise. Madame Web somehow Sony managed to sink deeper. Although, I'm not going to lie, I actually fucking love Madam Web. I think that it is the room of comic book movies, but that's a conversation for another day. I don't understand how they make, sure, they are female-led movies. Sure, that is a fact, right? But these are two of the worst comic book movies ever made, and the thought process isn't, well, maybe if we make better movies, then more people will watch them. That's not ever the thought process! They try to invent some oopy loopy, timey-wimey, timey-limey, suck-my-ass reason that isn't, like, it's just like no accountability ever. No accountability ever, and just that they made bad movies. It's so stupid. It's so beyond moronic. But anyways, I don't know. It is what it is. But again, to be fair, obviously, okay. I am getting triggered by just like a paragraph in a Deadline article. That's not necessarily what Amazon is thinking. That's just something that the article is writing, right? We just talked about earlier that Amazon greenlit a Tomb Raider series, so it's not that's not necessarily what Amazon is thinking. I'll just be clear. I'll just be clear about that. But even still, the fact that there's like a journalist in Deadline that instead of saying that, like, that's like bringing that up as if that's like a thing, right? As if that's like a thing to think about, of like, oh, our audiences, maybe they just don't want to watch like female-led movies. Maybe that's a thing that we should be analyzing instead of just them being some of the worst movies of all time. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the fucking comments down below. Soy rant over. All right. Let's get into what I've been watching. So, I watched the Doctor Who, the new Doctor Who season. I watched the first 3 episodes, and I'll say this: I've never seen Doctor Who before. This is my first experience with Doctor Who. I was a Doctor Who virgin. I'm not anymore. I thought that it was cute. I guess I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be as whimsical as it is. Because it is very whimsical. It is very like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's very goofy. It's very silly. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little turned off by it. But I think as I got into it and I kind of started getting a grasp of like, okay, this is just what the show is. This is what the world is. It's very confusing. It's very like sci-fi fantasy weird blend of things, right? Where you have like little gremlins, but then you also have like a time traveling police box or whatever. It's a very silly show, but I was getting into it, and I think for sure. It is carried by 2 very good lead performances. The guy who plays Doctor Who and like the girl who is like his sidekick character, they're very good together. And he's very charming. He's very charismatic. And it's just like a very sweet show, you know? Every episode, there's like a little theme where there's like a little lesson. And it's kind of cute. I don't know. I think it's a cute show. Again, I've never seen Doctor Who. I know, like, I feel like I've never seen a Doctor Who fan that likes anything related to Doctor Who. Like, every time I see people talking about Doctor Who on Twitter, it's always them complaining. So, I don't know. Maybe Doctor Who fans hate this. I have no idea. But I personally enjoyed it. As a non-Doctor Who fan, this is my first experience watching Doctor Who. I thought it was enjoyable. So yeah, I'd recommend checking it out. But I'll just be warned that it is a lot. It's very like high like concepts. Like it's like every episode, it's like, hey, there's this like immortal god that Doctor Who is fighting. It's like, okay, I guess this is a new element of the show. He's like, I have this remote control that can just do anything. It's like, okay, I guess I'm just not gonna think about it too much. You know what I mean? Like it's very wacky. It's very out there, but I think it's enjoyable. Next up, I also watched The Fall Guy. So this is a movie that it's Ryan Gosling. He plays a stunt actor. And he's a guy that, as a stunt actor, he's like kind of like disrespected as a stunt actor in some ways, and things happen, and then he has to, as the stunt actor, he kind of has to, I don't know. I guess I honestly, I don't watch the trailers for this, so I don't know like what the trailers spoil, so I guess I won't say too much about it, but it's fine. I don't know. It's kind of like a love letter to stunt actors. Or sorry, they're not stunt actors, they're stunt men, I think, right? I don't know. It's kind of like a love letter to stuntmen and like the behind the scenes of film and everything that they go through and whatnot. So on that front, I guess it's sweet, and stuntmen tend to not get a ton of love. There's even a joke in the movie about how they don't have an Oscar category for stunt performance or for like best stunt or whatever, which I think that would be a neat category. So I think it's a cute movie. I think it's fine, but I don't know that it's worth watching in theaters. Like, it's very much one that I would personally wait until it's on like a streaming service or something. Because I didn't love it enough that I would say, yes, go buy a ticket or anything. But Ryan Gosling's good. He's obviously charismatic. Emily Blunt is in it. She's good as well. But it's very much just like a kind of turn your brain off and just enjoy fun action. Like that's really what this movie is at the end of the day. But yeah. All right. I also watched X-Men 97 episode 10, the finale, and it's incredible. This show is fucking fantastic. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I've never been, because like I want to be clear here. I have never been a massive fan of the X-Men. Growing up as a kid, I watched the Fox X-Men movies. I never really grew. I never grew to love them that much. Like I liked them, but they were never like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies to me. They were never like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies to me. Like, I just don't see them as like formative movies that I watched as a kid. But I just want to say that and by the way, I didn't watch the original animated series until very recently, right? As an adult. And even as an adult watching that animated series, I was like, this is fine. This is good. It's not as good as like Spectacular Spider-Man, it's not as good as like Invincible, right? Show like comic book cartoons that I think are like fucking incredible, right? That actually like stand up to like be like, no, this isn't just like a good show that like for kids. This is like a fantastic show. X-Men 97 is utterly fantastic. It raises the bar for Marvel Studios, in my opinion, right? Like this and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think are genuinely on another level of excellence of bringing out of just being like so well written. Like every episode of X-Men 97 has like some line of dialogue that like makes me go, holy shit, like what the fuck? Having characters that I genuinely cared about. I think obviously like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are very good at that as well. And having genuine emotionality, right? Like moments that fucking kill you, like destroy you emotionally. This is a fucking fantastic series finale. It's so good, I'm honestly at a loss for words at how good X-Men 97 is. This is a show that came completely out of nowhere, completely shocked me. Like, even after watching the original animated series, I was like, okay, yeah, this is fine. This is good. Very dated in a lot of ways. And X-Men 97 somehow manages to be a perfect sequel to that original animated series that very much feels like it in tone and in like the characters and all of that. It very much feels like that same show, but is just so much better than the original animated series ever was. And yeah, like the animation is phenomenal. It's just it's something else, man. This show is something else. And I'm glad it exists. I implore everybody to go watch this. If you've never seen the original animated series, you don't necessarily need to. I think it's like, if you want to go down that path, I'm not going to discourage you, but I don't want anybody to be like, well, I don't really feel like watching the original animated series, so I'm just going to skip this. No. Go watch X-Men 97. It does a very good job of standing on its own and bringing everybody up to speed on what they need to know and all that. If anybody's out there is going like, yeah, it's an animated series. I don't want to watch an animated series. Shut up. Grow up. Grow up and watch cartoons. It honestly is like this, and like it bothers me. It really does bother me that anytime something good comes out of Marvel Studios, everybody's like, this is the best thing since Marvel, this is the best MCU thing since Endgame. Yeah. Motherfucker, the barometer should be like, is this the best thing since Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3? The barometer should be, is this the best thing since X-Men 97? Because Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3, and I like Avengers Endgame, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and X-Men 97 are way better than Avengers Endgame. But yeah, the show is amazing. Go check it out. And yeah, that's going to be it for this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. It is the show where we round up all the latest news in the world of nerdy movies and blah, 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 blah. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.